We're going to talk about all the things that veterans deal with. And, it's appropriate timing because Veterans Day was a couple days ago here in the United States. And so I want to get right into why plant medicine, especially ayahuasca, works so well for vets and for anyone that has trauma. All of us, I like to say, are veterans of our own lives. So all of us have some level of trauma. And, the Western medical model that I was trained in and Western therapeutic model that I was trained in was really deficient at trying to teach people how to get past trauma. I always tell the funny story of, like, well, it's not really funny, but it's interesting that I was working with a patient of mine in California when I had my practice in Los Angeles before moving to Costa Rica. And after about 5 years of therapy, I thought, we had been going deep, I thought, and we'd been working on a lot. And then she said to me, now that I finally trust you, now we can start to work on my trauma. I was like, 5 years it took to get to that point. So, therapy can be time consuming and very expensive. And again, it's good to stabilize people. Therapy is very helpful for a lot of us. It was helpful for me when I received it, and it's been helpful for a lot of people. However, when you're dealing with events in life that are really tough, especially the vets, we got 22 suicides a day from the veteran population. It's totally unacceptable. And the VA, struggles because of the volume of veterans and the protocols, and just there's a lot of red tape and there's a lot of different reasons why vets don't get the services they need. And, just to be honest, no one really knows how to deal with trauma effectively in ways that can be quick. Because if you're talking about, all right, I need a vet to come, or anybody to come to my office once a week for an hour, for 5-10 years, there's a lot of fallout. There's a lot of drop off, and people don't always follow through with that sort of protocol. And then you get them on meds, and then they got maybe a substance abuse issue that pops up. And there's just multiple factors that are involved with the vets in particular, and with trauma. For all of us with trauma, that's, it's not easy. It's not an easy road. So why does Rythmia, which is a 1-week program, why does it help people that have trauma, in particular vets? And the reason is because when you go through a traumatic moment or a traumatic experience, you have to survive it. And how do you survive a traumatic experience, whether it's war or an abuse or an event that was scary? How do you survive it emotionally when your emotions are present? Now, what happens when you get scared? What emotions come up? Well, there's fear, there's maybe confusion, there's anger, there's empathy for the opponent if you're in a war or in a fight. There's all these emotions that can be present during a life or death situation. And if you lock into your emotions in those moments, you'll either freeze or you'll run away. Now, sometimes that's appropriate because that's an instinctive survival mechanism, the fight or flight response. However, in order to run or fight, your emotions need to be pushed out of the way, because your emotions will lock you up and prevent you from doing either of those things, from fighting or fleeing. And so your emotions are something that you want to not deal with in that moment of trauma or that moment of war. And so what naturally happens is those emotions get pushed over into a part of the brain called the amygdala. And that's where your traumatic emotional memories are stored, and your traumatic emotions sort of wait in like a cell to be processed later, at a later date, when the trauma is over. At least that's the theory. So then you get through the war, you get through the battle, you get through the trauma, you get through the abuse, whatever it might be, you get through the fear, the hard thing. And then you're not in danger, and you're past it. And then what's supposed to happen is those emotions are supposed to come forward from the amygdala, and then you're supposed to feel them, and you're supposed to process them. And that's when you might cry, you might get angry, you might be whatever, worried. But because in a Western model, a Western lifestyle, a Western system, and also a military person who's constantly going to war, that never happens. That never occurs. And so it just, another event occurs of trauma and pushes more emotion there, and another event and another, and it just builds up. And then the veteran or the military guys or woman is discharged from the military, and they're home, and then all of a sudden they don't know what to do, because there's either a lack of emotional connection to anything, because they've gotten so used to pushing their emotions away, or they're flooded with so much emotion that they become overwhelmed. And that's where suicidality kicks in. That's where substance abuse kicks in. That's where all these things kick in. So what ends up happening for people with trauma is they either just keep blocking it, keep pushing it away, not dealing with it because it's scary. It feels like it's overwhelming to deal with it. And so what they end up doing is just going through life numb, or going through life with a substance abuse issue, or they start to have depression, or they start to get anxious, or all these different things happen. Then they go and see a therapist and they get put on meds, and then that just numbs them more. And then they try to talk about it. They don't want to talk about it because it brings up emotions that they're not ready to handle. Okay, so how does ayahuasca, how does Rhythmia help people that have this situation? Well, first of all, the plant medicine itself, what it's doing is it's accessing the amygdala when you drink it. Now, ayahuasca is a medicinal remedy from a shamanic region of Latin America that when you drink it, it absorbs into your bloodstream, and then it allows access to the amygdala, and it allows the emotions that you've stored and blocked, allows them to come forward into a part of the brain called the prefrontal cortex. And in the prefrontal cortex, that's your logical, rational, sort of cognitive self. And you can say like, oh, look, okay, I have this fear from childhood, or I have this fear from the military, or I have this fear or this worry or whatever that I never dealt with. And I see why I'm worried, because my partners died in battle, my military buddies, or I see that my dad was aggressive with me and I had to survive it. I had to protect my siblings. It's all these different things. What happens is the emotion will come forward through memories and through an emotional process that the ayahuasca is able to access. And what we call in neurochemistry is it's called synaptic plasticity, meaning that when you have fear, because of battles and wars and trauma, you block the fear and push it away because the fear prevents you from surviving. But now you learn that I can deal with my fear in the moment because it's not going to kill me, and I'm not in a life and death situation. I'm in a situation that I can handle the fear. So then the fear comes forward, and then you feel it and you process it and you let it out. So what ends up happening during a plant medicine session, and we have 4 of them at Rhythmia during the week, what ends up happening is all these emotions come forward, and the person gets to process them in a safe environment where they can let it out and yell and scream or cry or laugh, even for some other situations that are happening, because of recognition or something. And there's all this different sort of a release that occurs. And so the way I like to say it is like the Pandora's box of the amygdala opens up and all these emotions come flooding out, and you get to release them, because there's really no reason to carry around in your consciousness a bunch of historical traumatic emotions that are really just blocking you from trusting people. They're blocking you from being deep with yourself. They're blocking you from being close to others or intimate with anybody. It's just blocking everything because there's fear and there's lack of the ability to connect with yourself. So what ends up happening is, in a plant medicine session, is that all of that gets worked on. And at Rhythmia, we have 4 of these during the week, and you can slowly ease into it, or you can hit it really hard right away. But nonetheless, what ends up happening is people report that they feel, finally, for the first time in their life, they feel free of all this baggage. They also have clarity of what they need to do in their life, and they get new tools on how to handle emotions and different traumas, and they pop up in the future. And the depression is, they report it being remedied or gone, or much less, as well as anxiety. Now, PTS, as we call it, post-traumatic stress, the reason the military has taken off the D off of it is because it's not considered a disorder to the vets. It's considered a situation. And I agree with them. It's a situation. It's not a disorder. A disorder means that you're kind of like, you're stuck with what you got, and that's who you are. Whereas I don't believe that for trauma. I believe that you can work past it and you can use it as a strength because you've been through a lot, and it's something that adds to your sort of ability to push through things. Now, why does it only take a week instead of 10, 20 years, like, is the normal model? Well, the reason is because we're accessing right off the bat the amygdala, and it's getting right to the neurochemical side of this emotional process. Now, in therapy, you can do that. You can get to it, or hypnotherapy, or different EMDR and different stuff, but it's just harder. It takes a long time. There's other modalities popping up nowadays that are good and helpful. There's other sort of therapies I think that are really promising. But what I am able to see 15,000 people through our doors at Rhythmia over the years is that there's this theme of people really, really working on their trauma, and especially veterans pushing through it and getting past it. So if you feel that you have trauma that's unresolved, if you're a veteran, you feel like you got a lot of stuff that you haven't really dealt with, because you're scared to, or you don't know how to, give Rhythmia a shot, because it's going to get right to the core issues very quickly. It's going to help you work past it. Then it's going to give you tools on how to use these new sort of abilities in your life in a way that doesn't flood and burden the amygdala. It kind of just lets you connect with yourself and move day to day and dealing with what you're dealing with each time. And so, substance abuse will be reduced, hopefully eliminated, and you'll be able to feel stable. And so it's a very beautiful process to watch. So thanks for listening, you guys. All the vets out there, thank you for your service. We're always happy to have you at Rhythmia. And you guys been through a lot. You guys are going through a lot. So just, hang in there. Let's get this fixed. Let's get the VA on board with these protocols. There's some promising future and research that's happening that this could be the future for vets and PTSD is plant medicine. We'll see. But, let's get this going, and there's no time to waste. This is life or death situations. We can't have 22 vets killing themselves a day. It's unacceptable for the society we live in. We got to help you guys out and get things fixed. So come check us out. Check out our website. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week. Pura vida. Dr. Jeff. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.